We very famous, very popular, very beloved people with us on this evening. And we're going to let our moderator introduce them to you in just a little bit. I ask you to please share the information about this live, about this town hall on tonight. Please share it with your friends, share it with your family. Even if you don't do so tonight, please share it. This information is very important. I want to tell you just a little bit about Baltimore Action Catalyst Team. Baltimore Action Catalyst Team is a collaborative. We are BACT for short, B-A-C-T, Baltimore Action Catalyst Team, and we can't leave off the last part of it, for change. For change. We're trying to bring about positive change in Baltimore. We in and of ourselves can't do it. We do not have all the answers, but we know that this city is full of people that have the answers for us, that can help to move our city forward. We've got, I don't know where to say, chief, assistant pastor, or pastor, Melvin Russell, just Mel. But we have him with us tonight. We have, and I'm not trying to introduce, but we just have a wealth of information here with us on tonight. And this is really what BACT is all about. It is about sharing information to help our city, to help our residents, to help our communities, to help our young people. We don't want to leave anyone out. This is our fifth town hall that we have had. The first one, we had some young people on with us that were powerful. I mean, powerful. We don't have any of our youth tonight on with us, unless you consider yourself to be young. But other than that, it all depends on how, we got one person there to say, okay, too. Well, I'm gonna join the group too. Even though my youngest child is in his 50s, but I'm still going, I'm gonna join the club tonight. But we want you to know that our youth are very, very important to us. So without any further ado, I want to introduce to you tonight Danelle, who is going to be running our technical services, I'll say, for us on tonight. Danelle Pender, Austin Pender. She is just a valued asset. Anybody that knows her work, knows the many, many good things that she has done for our city in various capacities. We also have Catherine Cooper Nicholas with us. She is part of BACT, wealth of information, wealth of experience in community building, community development, all of that. And so, and we have our moderator, Stephen Johnson, who's Catherine is going to introduce him in just a few seconds. But I ask you to please just sit back tonight, relax. Don't relax so much till you fall asleep, okay? But relax, get those questions in, listen up, you know, and learn. We want to listen, look, and learn on tonight. Have a great time. So I think I have waiting on me. Just give me 1 second. All right. I went over a little bit. Oh, how can I forget? Chaplain Dave Lovelace. I don't know if Chap is on yet, but Chap, I don't know what I would do without him. And that's the truth. I never met someone that knows everybody, knows how to contact and get in touch with any and everybody, knows how to do everything. I don't see him right now, but Chap, we love you. He is one of our advisors, and also Reverend Teresa Mercer, which many in the city might know as well. She is also one of our advisors. Our topic for tonight, and I'm trying to race through here because I know we've got a lot of people, we got a lot of information to get tonight. But the topic tonight is the 111 on 211, 311, and 911. And many of you in the listening audience may not even remember what 411 was for, but 411 was for information. If you wanted a telephone number, that was before cell phones, y'all. If you wanted your telephone number for somebody, if you wanted information on the address, if you wanted to get in touch with the police department, whoever it was, you had to dial 411. Well, now we have 211, we have 311, we have 911, and a lot of us really don't understand the process. So we're gonna cover all of that tonight. And I don't know if we have any elected officials on with us on tonight. I really can't see the participants, but if we do, we certainly welcome you to this town hall tonight. We hope that you will make yourself known and that you will join in. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce Catherine Cooper Nicholas, who again is a part of BACT, and she is going to introduce our moderator. And you won't hear from me again until toward the end. I may possibly butt in every now and then, but we'll see. I might have some questions of my own.
She's on mute. Take your mute off. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. And I want to thank all the panelists and everyone that was involved in putting this together. And I want to, Stephen Johnson is just somebody I think I adopted. He didn't know about that, but when I call on him, he's there. Sometimes we think the same thing about our community. And then it's like, okay, so let's make it happen. And here we come. And one thing that he did recently for us was to bring a job fair to our community, where we were able to on spot, get jobs for about 100 young people. Well, it was a mixture, but this was during COVID. We didn't get no response about anyone being, infected, but it ran like clockwork. It was wonderful. So he just looks for so many resources in our community, and he comes to, he's a partner. He's a partner. Now I'm saying this and talking about him because it's what we need in our city. We need folks to, stop holding everything close and be partners for us and with us. So he's also an alpha. So anyway, I'm just glad that he is here. And okay, you representing. I got you. So he has 2 little daughters too that come to the meetings with us, him, and they just cheer us up. So for families that sometimes we can't be there for him, but he does the work, and I'm so proud of him, and I'm glad that he is with us in the Park Heights. In the Park Heights Terrace location. So without me going on and on, here is Stephen Johnson.
Wow. That's all I can say. Thank you, Miss Catherine. That was I don't even know, that was humbling. I tell you, and I thank you for those kind words. And I pray that I can continue to walk the walk and the things that you said about me. Hopefully that my life will continue to reflect those things. Good evening, everybody. Want to welcome you to the Baltimore Action Catalyst Team for Change Town Hall. As Ms. Catherine said, on what's the 411, on 211, and 911, and 311, and any other 11 that you could possibly find, or any other 11 that you could possibly find. Real quick, is it possible, could we do a 45-second icebreaker? Is that possible? All right, cool. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. Is it possible to do a 45-second icebreaker? Okay, awesome. I just have it in the chat here. If you can choose any song to be your theme song when entering a room, what would that theme song be? You can put your responses in the chat. If we can go ahead, I'm gonna put a timer on for a quick 45 seconds. Please go ahead and respond. You can throw that thing in the chat. Your 45 seconds has started now. I hear icon. Okay. Miss Kiana, Icon. I see Jamie with Jesus is a love song. By come on, Clark Sisters. Yeah. Angie Winder, Charlie Wilson. I'm blessed. This girl is on fire. Alicia Keys coming through. The more I seek you. Miss Blanca, Miss Armenthea, God favored me, signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm yours. Will Hannah, Valerie Matthews, this girl is on fire. Two of those. My name is Victory. That's a Jonathan Nelson song. Got you. The revolution will not be televised. Gil Scott Heron. Come on, somebody's deep in this thing today. So we got so much. Wake up, everybody. We got 6 seconds left. Come on to bring them through. The revolution will be televised. Again, we have 2 seconds left. My favorite number, the number 2. And that is our time. As you hear my timer going off for 45 seconds. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes or the Roots got you. And if I can help somebody, don't be afraid to continue to allow those answers to roll in. If you wanted, we can call them out. But just kind of wanted to get our blood flowing. Speaking about songs and what's the 411, Mary J. Blige in the year 1992 had an album that really skyrocketed her to the charts, and it said, what is the 411? Right? So I think that this is ever fitting. What's the information? What's the knowledge? And so we're grateful that we have folks here tonight to give us the information, to give us the 411 on the knowledge on city services and things that are most important to us in the city. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and begin to introduce our guests and our panelists. I saw somebody, the battle is not yours, and what's going on? I see you there. So our panelist, Ms. Yolanda Winkler, first one up, she's a graduate of Towson University Business Program, where she earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration, specializing in international finance. Ms. Winkler is also a graduate of Morgan State University's Master of Business Admin program, where she did earn her master's degree. And I would definitely think that Ms. Winkler would say she loves her HBCU, amen? There we go, there we go, there we go. Ms. Winkler enjoys creating models of sustainability and growth. She is a member of Baltimore Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I see Natalie over there, my HBCU grad. I love it. I love it. HBCU pride, guys. If you don't know what HBCU stands for, historically Black colleges and universities. Quick plug, please donate to your historically Black colleges and universities. They need your dollars. They need your coins. Mr. Winky, who he and his wife, Ms. Peaches, they donated tirelessly and effortlessly to Coppin State University. And it just takes, if you could just take $5, $10, something that you would buy a cup of coffee from Dunkin', from Starbucks or something like that, and just mail that to your university, so that way our illustrious universities can continue to pour into Black and brown young women and young men and pour them back into the city, so that way that we can have productive people to create and solve the problems that we need here. So thank you so much for that. Ms. Winkler, as well, she has served as the chair of the Political Action Committee, past president of the Baltimore Metropolitan Torchbearer Foundation, which is a nonprofit entity of Baltimore Metropolitan Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ms. Winkler is also the president of the Forest Park Action Council, past president of Hillsdale Heights Neighborhood Association, which is here in Northwest Baltimore, and the past treasurer for Northwest Roundtable, which is comprised of a representation of 30 communities, 30, not 3, but 30, right? 30 communities in the Northwest corridor of Baltimore City. So that kind of says to me that Ms. Winkler, even though you are a grown woman, but you are a, I won't even say girl boss, you are a woman boss. So that's what that says with that. And we got a whole bunch of women bosses join with us here today. I look up and see nothing but a sea of women bosses. So big ups, because I know that if it wasn't for my mother being a woman boss, that I wouldn't be who I am today. So big ups to our women, and especially our women of color. We love you, we cherish you, we need you, and we promise to respect and protect you. Continuing, we have Chief and Pastor Melvin Russell. With 130 officers under his command, former Chief Melvin Russell, he took a community, faith-based schools, and other area stakeholders to the next level, propelled them. He had an engaged presence, and he believed that that engaged presence helps to bring and reduce crime, violence. He has a huge feel for relational equity. And that means building relationships. That means getting out of the car. That means walking the beat, walking the street, talking to the people, shaking hands, kissing babies, going into stores, buying a bag of Doritos if you have to, just to strike up a conversation with the people in there. Whatever you have to do, it's all about relation. Over the next 4.5 years, Colonel district experienced historical crime reductions that had not been seen over 40 years, not 4, but 40 years. After posting such success, he was promoted to lieutenant colonel, then eventually colonel chief, created the Community Partnership Division, which is known as the CPD, in January of 2013. Chief Russell, he was successful at transforming the lives of young people, ex-offenders, and others through a collaborative effort in the common goals of peace and prosperity for all. June 1st, 2019, Colonel Russell retired as the chief of CPD and an acting deputy commissioner for the Baltimore City Police Department. This brother continues to be sought after as a panelist, as someone to speak on policing and community engagement, someone to bring the word, to be able to mend hearts and to bring the fire, as they say, manna from on high. So this brother is definitely in the trenches, and still continues to be. This brother has a Bachelor of Ministry degree in mission specialization from West Coast Bible College and is married to the beautiful songstress, Miss Lolita. Together, they have a beautiful blended family of 8 children. Pastor Melvin continues the good fight of faith to be a man of peace and an effective change agent for Baltimore City. Continuing on, yes, sir. Continuing on, we have Miss Angie Winder. She is a community advocate who currently serves as the president at the Northeast Community Organization, also known as NECO, N-E-C-O, which is an umbrella organization that supports over 20 community associations and institutions in Baltimore City. Told you, lady boss, they're all over. Ms. Winder was elected to serve on the Baltimore City Democratic State Central Committee and is the chair for the 43rd Legislative District. In addition, Ms. Winder is a certified grief facilitator through Roberta's House and a certified mental health advocate through the Green Heart University. Ms. Winder's passion was to serve, and it was inspired by her late husband, who was a victim of homicide in Baltimore City. And our condolences to you, Ms. Winder, and to your family. Ms. Winder channeled her grief into action by devoting her time and helping others tirelessly within the community. Ms. Winder provided comfort and support to grieving families, and that birthed her mission to become a community leader, committed to the cause of making Baltimore better. In 2016, Ms. Winder fine-tuned those efforts even further through the development of RTV, which stands for Restoring the Village, building meaningful partnerships across the city as she deeply believes in a collaborative approach. She is often described by others as a connector in the city, using her talents, platform, and experiences to help others. She does everything she can to keep her ears to the ground, staying in tune with not only the problems and needs throughout the city, but the great things that are happening daily as well. So Ms. Winder, thank you for joining us. Next up, we have Ms. Valerie Matthews, another lady boss. Okay, I want you guys to understand the theme that's happening here, okay? So Ms. Valerie Matthews is a Baltimore native who heads up Catherine's Family and Youth Services Incorporated, also known as CFYS, as the co-founder and executive director. Ms. Matthews has a master's degree in public administration and nonprofit management from the University of Baltimore, and as a licensed consultant via Standards for Excellence and Maryland Nonprofits. Ms. Matthew coaches and teaches startup nonprofit workshops to rising grassroots leaders and consults for local grassroots nonprofits and small businesses in Baltimore, DC, New York, and Delaware. As a community servant and avid mentor, Ms. Matthews strategically implements enriching and engaging and quality programs with a focus on fostering relationships between children and their families in the Park Heights community. As executive director, Director, Ms. Matthews, heads a free food pantry at Catherine's Family and Youth Services, where she provides free diapers, fresh groceries to hundreds of households. Recently was able to meet up with her, and they provided some masks for my school at Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. I mean, it's beautiful in there. Everything is just so nicely put together and neat and organized. They got meats, they got clothes, they got toilet paper, they got laundry detergent, they got bottles, they got pacifiers, they got formula, they got AAA batteries. Listen, it's a one-stop shop. It is a one-stop shop for the community. So welcome, 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 and thank you for joining us. Next up, we have Miss Leslie T. Wise. Ms. Wise is a family service planning, pre-planning specialist. She is from Mount Vernon, New York, but has lived in Baltimore for over 20 years. Her husband of 16 years is a family service counselor, and he has helped grieving families for over 20 years. Together, they have a desire to educate the community on the various options that are available to them when making final plans to honor their loved one's memory by finding a final resting place for them. The loss of a loved one and comforting our own immortality and confronting, I should say, our own immortality is something that we will all experience. The only thing is certain is that someone will be born and someone will die. Leslie's goal is to provide valuable resources and information to the Baltimore community. She sees so many families overwhelmed or making emotional decisions because of the loss of a precious loved one. And Ms. Leslie just wants to make sure that everyone is educated, has everything they need and supported to make those final resting place decisions. Lastly, but not least at all, we have Reverend Donna Jones, the Executive Director of Emerging Ministries Corporation, and Sir Rahima Jabbar Bey, who's the president of RJ Bay Consulting in Wilmington, Delaware. These two professionals bring a combined of 50 plus years of experience in redevelopment and community development, and we thank them for being with us today. With that said, once again, thank you to everyone who's watching through every platform. Thank you to our panelists, and we're about to get the 411, y'all. Yes, Ms. Spence.
And
You're still
every
here,
now
Ms.
and then.
Spence.
We have Mrs. Chuck Lee, or Officer Chuck Lee. Please forgive me. We want to make sure that he's able to give his introduction. We didn't get his information time enough, but he is one of our valued panelists tonight.
Awesome,
Good evening,
awesome.
everyone. Officer Charles Lee, Central District Neighborhood Coordinating Officer, formerly worked under Colonel Chief Melvin Russell. Been an officer for over 28 years and looking to retire soon. I just had you guys, just glad to be on here to be a part. And I hope I can open up your eyes and spread some light to what you may need help in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you, sir, for joining us this evening. We appreciate you taking time from saving the city and wearing your Superman cape and coming and sharing a little bit of time with us. So thank you, sir. We appreciate your service. You guys could have been anywhere in the world. However, you chose to be with us tonight in this place, in this space. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off. We have a few questions, guys. We're going to talk. We're going to dialogue. We're going to get some information. So for everybody that's out there listening and watching, get a pen, get a pencil, get a marker, get your kids' crayon. If you can't find a pencil or a pen, close, and get some paper to write some information down, okay? So first question. And I'm going to pose this to Ms. Winkler. As you see, Department of Public Works back there, Miss Chief Winkler. The first question is, what is the difference between 211, 311, and 911?
So you got me on 211. Let me start with 311 and 911 and think about what the others are. So 311 is a Baltimore City service line. It's the line you call to inquire about any particular city service that you are seeking. And it is also where you can get information about city services. 911 is 911. It is an emergency, guys. It's not that I need a trash can. It's not that I need a recycling cart. It means that you are in harm's way or you are having a health emergency, and it is a dire emergency. 211, I need some help.
If I could just jump in here with my sister.
Thank you.
No worries, because I wasn't real familiar with that myself, but 211 is basically another city line service that really connects the caller to like health services, not only health services, but what's the other thing? Human resources. So it's really something like seniors. If you're a senior, that's a line that you really want to call in, and they can really direct you and connect you to the right people when it comes to health issues and human issues, services that you need. That's about as much as I know of it. So God bless you.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir, for that. And thank you, Ms. Winkler, for that explanation. So with 311, and I know you're not on the 911 side, Ms. Winkler, but if someone's calling 311, am I going to speak to Ms. Winkler when I call 311? What's the process? Are they friendly? I mean, what do I do? Because I was always told that snitching is something that we just don't do. And 311 sounds too close to 911. So is it okay to call 311?
Absolutely okay to call 311. 311 is a customer service line. And so when you call 311, you're getting a representative that's interested in knowing what services or how can they help you. And so I strongly encourage, as the communications chief of DPW and Strategic Alliances, I strongly encourage you to call 311. 311 can get you your trash picked up. 311 can get your recycling collected. 311 could get your street clean. 311 can get your bulk pickups collected. 311 can get your lights turned on in your street if it's off. 311 can direct you to COVID stations and centers and test centers and where you can get tested. 311 can also assist you with information. How do I find out what district I live in? How do I get in touch with the mayor's office? How do I get snow removed? Right. So 311 is your service line for Baltimore City. You know, when will you clean my street? How can I get speed cameras? 311. I encourage you to use 311. They have a lot of information. The individuals that answers those calls, you have to understand, sometimes we don't call with the best attitude, right? But nevertheless, they endure and they help you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. And with 311, for those who say, hey, you know what? I'm just too busy. I don't want to sit on the phone. I don't want to call. Guess what? You can also go into the Google Play Store or into the Apple Store or whatever store that your cellular device has, and you can download that good old 311 application. And in that 311 app, you can find oodles of services. You can take pictures. You can upload it. You can tell, the street and then the cross street of where it was. And then the other thing with that, it gives you an SR number. Anybody know what an SR number is? Service request. There you go. Service request number. So this gives you, as the caller, a way to track, right? That paper trail, a way to track what you've done. So that way, if you feel like things are not moving in time, then you can send a good old email to somebody and say, hey, listen, I have this SR number here, and this is how the city can track open cases and open needs. Everything has to have that paper trail. And I'll say this last thing before we continue to move, is that the squeaky oil gets the what, folks? Or the squeaky oil gets the oil. The other way,
wheel gets the oil.
Right? And so this SR number, if you have your community to say, hey guys, call in about this thing, and you're sending 10, 15 SR numbers down, that helps to move your issue a lot quicker. their strength in numbers with that. So thank you for that.
And Stephen, if I can add, many residents, and it's very important, and I thank you for mentioning that, Stephen, many of you sometimes will call for service and do not get the SR number. And if you get it, you don't record it. Please, 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 if you call, get the SR number, put it, I don't care where you keep it, put it on your refrigerator with a magnet or something. But it's important that you have that SR number, because when you call me about a service, I'm going to say, did you call 311? And then I'm going to say, okay, you said you called 311, what's your SR number? And that SR number will get faster, more efficient results. Because if you got an SR number, somebody has slipped up and it fell through the cracks. And so when it gets to me, it's escalated because you have an SR. I don't have to go in and create the SR and then escalate it. Okay.
And let me just add to that, Stephen and Yolanda. Just because when I was working there, the top 3 complaints that I got that I was directing to 311 and it was magnificent was illegal dumping. So if somebody else is thinking I got dumping in my neighborhood, call 311. Abandoned vehicles. I was talking to a community member just a couple of weeks ago, said she's had an abandoned vehicle in front of her house for over a year. And I had to tell her that's unacceptable. So I walked her through it and told her what to do. And then the other thing is a lot of vacant homes. I don't know if Baltimore still has a whole lot of vacant homes, but especially when they're unboarded and they're open and people running in and out for all kinds of different things, call that 311 so they can get that house boarded up or get rid of it or whatever the case may be. I just want to add that because those are the top.
No, that's important. That's important. It's 311.
Absolutely.
I like to add that we want to make sure we have enough detail, like all the details there, maybe even pictures, intersection. So as much detail as you can put in there. And like Chief Winkler said, which she has helped me on, she doesn't probably remember, but she has helped me in the past. But I had the number, we have pictures, and that does escalate it, but you want to have as much detail as you can, the location, the time, the date, so forth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for all of that for those who chimed in. Ms. Winkler, I remember you said you had a PowerPoint. Did that?
Well, no, because I want to use most of the time to answer questions. So I don't want to take up time with a PowerPoint. I'd rather I like this forum. It's engaging and it allows everyone to participate. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I see some stuff in the chat that www.211.org being a great website. So you can check out that website and still get a chance to take advantage of the services that we were speaking about. And then the 3-1 app is very helpful. Someone said, and you can follow up on your request as well, Ms. Hextall. So absolutely, absolutely. Want to go ahead and kind of shift from the 211, 311, and 911. Actually, before I shift there, Chief Russell, if I am a concerned citizen and I decide that I see something, I'm going to say something. So I call 911. When I call 911, is there a way for me not to be identified and to keep me under anonymity so that way I don't feel like that myself or my family is exposed to danger?
That's a great question.
And how reliable is that as well?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. And that's important for your listeners and those who are tuning in today. As Charlie know, one of my police sons, that unfortunately there are times when someone called 911, but they don't want to be identified, but they don't say that. They don't say that. And then unfortunately you have some green officers that will go to a complaint. And unfortunately, sometimes those people they're checking on will say, well, who complained on me? And I don't know why, but every now and then you'll get an officer, let's just be real about this, and say, well, your neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, called, right? So that's just ridiculous. You don't even do that. So I would say when you call in, the first thing you say to the operator is, I don't want to be identified. That's the first thing come out of your mouth before you even begin to talk about the complaint. And that way they're obligated, that dispatcher is obligated to make sure that you stay anonymous. Even if the officer calls to the dispatcher and say, where did the complaint come from? The dispatcher has to tell them it's an anonymous complaint. So yes, you can call the 911. You can absolutely keep your anonymity by just simply saying off the bat, I'm calling, but I don't want to be identified. I want to stay anonymous.
Got you. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. And so folks, you know that you can definitely keep your name sealed and hidden if you want to. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone if you need to. Want to go ahead and to continue to shift, but before we do, Ms. Winkler, still talking about city services. Can you explain the difference between DPW and DOT? When do I call DPW versus DOT? Is there a fine line? Do you guys work together? Are y'all friends?
I like to think that we are friends, and we feed off of each other in terms of the services. So when should you call DPW? DPW is synonymous with what? It's two things we're synonymous with: trash and water. We don't want trash in the water, but those two things we are synonymous with DPW. So we are the ones that issue your water bill. Any questions you have with your water bill, call us. You call customer service. The acronym for customer service in DPW is CSSD, right? We collect your trash, we collect your recycling, we collect your bulk, we eradicate your communities. In the case of rats, we board vacant houses, we mow lawns, we clean out houses, right? So that's all DPW. What do we do? What we do not do is we don't remove abandoned vehicles. We don't address any traffic concerns. We do snow removal alongside our partner DOT, right? We do not, and this is a big one, we clean up illegal dumping. Code enforcement, which is in housing and community development, are the enforcers as it relates to illegal dumping. And I want everybody to understand that, because DPW gets a lot of calls, one for abandoned vehicles, which my brother Melvin Russell mentioned, one for vacant houses, and one for illegal dumping. We will clean up a vacant house, we will board it. But before we do anything, that a work order from the agency with the responsibility for houses and for cars must be issued. Now, there are times, and as it relates to abandoned car, and I've seen this on Druid Hill. Matter of fact, I was the person that was responsible for finally getting this vehicle removed off of that lot. I think it's in the 2500 block of Druid Hill, just before you get to North Avenue. For years, there was a lot in between the houses, and there was a pickup truck sitting there loaded with trash. In that case, we cleaned out the vehicle, and then DOT removed the vehicle. So we will do that. So when you see DPW, don't think about abandoned vehicles. Don't even think about an abandoned house. That's not our responsibility. What our responsibility is to clean that house out, clean it up, board it up, and ensure that it does not have access, so that none of our residents can get hurt or harmed as it relates to those particular properties.
Much appreciative, much appreciative. I told y'all.
And water main breaks. Remember, we're water. So any water main breaks you see in the city, that's DPW. That's DPW.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we got some good info. Hope y'all are down there taking your notes. I told you, get a pencil, get a crayon, get some paper. All right. With that said, we want to go ahead and kind of shift a little bit. And we want to go ahead and look at, talk about neighborhood associations. We have some people on the call that are in the trenches, that have built associations, that have built nonprofits and things like that from the ground up. And I know we might have some questions out there. I do see something in the chat. My friend lives in a block where only less than 5 houses are occupied, and she's asked me to find out what can they do. I can relay the informational resource. Anybody want to take that real quick?
If it's only 5 houses in the block, and so if the property is owned by some individuals, we cannot condemn the block. Those because they have to, that's called condemnation. And city officials city leadership frown upon that. They like to give the individual an opportunity to offer their house to the city or for the city to purchase their property. So unfortunately, what happens is the city will clean around those 5 houses unless there's a development plan associated with that particular block. And if it is a development plan, then they will present you with an offer, and it has to be an offer at market rate. Okay, so right now, what I suggest that you do is get in touch with the planning department and inquire as to whether there are any plans for your block.
Absolutely. And then once, so see, I heard that there's a process where we can call on an abandonmonium or abandonminium, and it has to be auctioned within 30 days.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. And some of those practices have been abandoned due to COVID. So if you, I can put my information in the chat and then do some research for you, or you can call housing at 396-3232. 410-396-3232.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I do have a question, and Miss Valerie Matthews or Miss Winder can take this. What do you consider, so since we're talking about houses, we're talking about abandons, vacants, and different things like that, and we know that these types of situations can definitely put a huge strain on neighborhoods, right? We know that blight and grime is a recipe for crime. We understand that it brings your property value down. We understand that when a property or when a community looks divested in, it sends signals to those who want to do wrong things to say, hey, nobody cares about this place. So that means that me and my people, we can come in and set up shop and do what we want. And the homeowners and the people who live in that community are simply left at the mercy of those to ravage our communities and neighborhoods, right? So what are some of the biggest challenges facing neighborhoods associations regarding crime, safety, and efforts to lessen crime activity? And then I have a follow-up question for that, but I'll say it again. What do you consider some of the biggest challenges facing our neighborhood associations today? We're talking about crime, safety, and efforts to lessen that crime. And that's open. I know Ms. Matthews, I know you have tentacles into organizations, into community, and then Ms. Winder as well. I know that you are in the community building and things of that nature. So if you wanted to tackle that, please feel free.
Angie, this may be more your lane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't want to, I heard you say your name. So the challenges for the community associations.
Yes.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Yes. So I'll say
Okay.
it again. What do you consider some of the biggest challenges facing neighborhoods association, whether it's crime, safety, and efforts? And can you give some things that the associations can do to help mitigate some of their issues as a collective?
Okay, so I believe, of course, we all talk about public safety. We talk about, even with the light and the blight, these could be some of the challenges in some of the communities across the city. And, for me, I believe that the biggest thing is that residents are being engaging and involved in their communities, that they are building partnerships with different agencies such as DPW, such as even with our elected officials. I know with my community associations, I'm on the board of particularly, it could be the smallest thing. We just don't let anything go by. And that's a good thing, sometimes it could be a headache. But I think, some of the things you can just do is just be engaging, be alert, watch your surroundings, attend, association meetings, which I know people are tired of meetings, but unfortunately, that's a lot of the work is happening there and decisions. So again, the challenges as well is, as I say, the public safety, the beautification, the trash sometimes. But again, I believe if you're more involved in the community, this can kind of alleviate when you have those relationships with your liaison from different city agencies there. So that's very helpful to know we can call on them and that it's getting done, and that they're helping us. It can go as further as even like the community law center, they're getting involved if we have questions. So there's a lot of resource at stake, but it has to be where we're being engaged and being there at these meetings and building the relationships. Hopefully I answered and not said a whole lot, but that's some of the challenges and some of the solutions.
So if I can, I just want to co-sign Stephen, everything
Yes,
Angie said, my sister Angie said. When I took over as a commander in the district, I realized, of all those communities, we only had 3 active, and they weren't that active communities. And the main issue was, and it was well over, it's supposed to be close to 24, right? 24 communities, but only 3 has some semblance of a community. And as I went into each community and pulled the fragments together, the number one thing was fear of the elements, whatever that is, right? So fear of the juveniles in your community, fear of the drug dealings, fear of the robberies, carjack, whatever it is, there was some type of fear, coupled with there was a lack of relationship between each other. Now, I'm probably one of the oldest ones on here, and when I grew up in Park Heights, since Park Heights so represented on here, when I grew up, one of the things was that when I grew up, everybody knew everybody. When we needed a cup of sugar, a couple of eggs, whatever the case may be, we didn't always run to the store. We went to the neighbors because we had great relationships with the neighbor. I like to say relational equity, right? And at the same time, when we were acting out in the streets beyond capacity that we should have been, nobody called the police, but the big brothers, the elders of the community came out and they rectified the situation, whatever that looked like. You don't see that anymore. So what I'm saying is there's a lack of relational equity amongst ourselves. There's a real fear that we have even of our own neighbors. And the only reason we have a fear of our own neighbors is because we don't know our neighbors. We don't communicate with our neighbors. And when you don't talk, you're afraid of the unknown. So we got to get back to building relationships within, right? So like Angie said, build that relationship, that means engaging, y'all. We begin to engage each other and realize we're all in the same boat. We all suffering from the same thing. And then you realize strength comes in numbers. And so then you can start building out solutions. Then you can come together and then you can get the ball rolling. I don't want to go into a whole dissertation on this, but I would just say this. After working with those communities who were fearful, I mean, just terrified of even coming out and talking to each other, I was able to convince them. So that's the other thing. You need a catalytic leader. And that can come in the form of a boss lady. That can come in the form of a grandmother in the community, a tired husband, whoever. Somebody take the lead and say, we're going to pull our community together. Then you pull everybody together. And then once you build that relationship with everybody, that association gets strong. And then you start working with your local police department. And then you start getting all the resources and everything else. So I don't want to go into it, but Angie is spot on. The main thing is we simply don't freaking talk to each other and we're scared of each other. And we got to get away from that. As soon as we can start building relationships amongst ourselves, associations will rise. Because the association is made of the people in the community. Well, when you aren't engaged, you ain't got no association. And so I convince somebody, listen, once a week, once every other week, we got to come together. We got to talk this thing out. So I
Absolutely. And I want to add, not just even, well, of course we want it in our neighborhood, but even talking outside of our neighborhoods. I came on this meeting coming from off of another meeting where we're trying to feel like NECO is an umbrella organization. So just having different organizations under the umbrella, we're talking with each other every month. We're kind of like brainstorming, having the stakeholders, similar to what the commanders meetings, what they're having monthly, and just kind of brainstorming those ideas. But we have to communicate. We have to be working together. I think I saw a comment about, too much on the residents. I would say not necessarily, and not to agree or not agree, but not necessarily, because I feel like we should want to be engaged or want to be at the table, want to communicate. Half of the people on here, even as a panelist, I've known them, they don't live in my neighborhood or even within the NECO, but it's because we communicated, we worked together and we built that relationship. That goes a long way about relationships.
Yeah, and you have to invest in your community. And so your community will be only what you make it. And so you have to be invested. If you see something, you say something. And Brother Russell, he knows where I live. You can't come back here and do whatever you want. Oh no, it's not happening. While I was on a call with you all, I just got a call that some young man is walking through the neighborhoods checking cars from the Public Safety Committee. They out there, you don't know who they are, but they out there, so they have their eyes on them. And I don't have to go and look and check out anything. You really cannot come back here because it's like an alarm goes off. Everybody is notified. So as you're moving from house to house, we're moving right along with you. And so if your neighborhood is going to thrive and be sustained, you have to be invested. And now I've heard this as from a DPW perspective, and I've heard it as a community president. The city, what I've heard is that the city, individuals saying that the city use its residents as unpaid contractors. And they're tired of being those unpaid contractors. But it's not about being an unpaid contract, it's about being a partner. It's about being a partner. Now, that being said, there are certain responsibilities that as a city official I have, as a city resident I have, as a mother I have, that I will handle. But there are things that we have to do together. Call it what you may. I got a girlfriend. This is your unpaid contractor calling about a service need. She calls me up every day, every night with something and saying the unpaid contractor calling in, because if I don't call as the unpaid contractor, it won't get done. And I'm like, oh, great. So what's up? How can I help you? Because I see it as a partnership. Thank you, because I don't have to send my liaison 2 blocks away from here to see that somebody dumped trash over there on Purnell Drive, right? Because she's calling and letting me know, so it's great. Although, she chimes in as an unpaid contractor, I like her. I like her as my unpaid contractor. I get services for the community, and she's my eyes in the community.
And one of my issues, if I can chime in, with neighborhood associations, with the people in our community, they will call me in a heartbeat and tell me the light is out, there's trash in my alley. I need you to get this done. I need you to get that done. But then to get them involved in the association, once their issue is taken care of, and I talk to them about joining, they're like, well, let me think about it and I'll get back with you. And I call them and, touch bases with them. And they're like, well, I'm good. Everything is okay right now. So it's like really getting them engaged in what's happening and what's going on. And sometimes I'll get a little, upset and tell them, look, if you're not willing to do something, then don't call me. Because I can do but so much. Again, that's my last ditch effort to try to get them engaged, involved. And I've had people tell me, oh, I have a life. I don't have time to do that. Or exactly as you said, call the city because they get paid to do that. And I don't, so
right.
It's a vicious cycle.
Pastor, I got to say this to what she said, and I saw a couple of questions, Brother Stephen, in the chat.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And so listen, family, we got to be creative. These are your neighborhoods.
That's right.
And if you don't want these issues in your neighborhoods, you can't sit back and make excuses. I'm saying this in the most loving way I can. I love you to life. But listen, I would beg communities, you got to get engaged. And I heard that same thing that Pastor was saying. We good over here. We don't need no help. And I said, listen, you got budding communities just a block away. I've convinced them and they're coming together. And you know what? All those issues they have in their community, they won't all dissipate. Some of them will be displaced. And when you see your good man, because you don't have a presence, that displacement is going to look for territory where it looks like, I'm not saying you don't care, but it looks like the community don't care because you're not actively engaged. And so I would convince people, listen, you got to be creative. You got elders, we have porch meetings. You don't got to go to a church. We had porch conferences. We stayed right in the neighborhood. And when you talk about kids go to different schools and we go to different churches, we're not talking about building a church. We're not talking about building a school. We're talking about keeping your neighborhood safe. And all of you have that one component in common. It is your neighborhood. And because you live in the same neighborhood, you have a thread that you can connect together and make stronger. And so what I'm saying, no more excuses. Please forgive me. Don't beat me up. But I'm saying, figure out a way. Get real creative. Get rid of the excuses. Come up with strategies that you know will work. And trust me, you have incredible creative minds. You just got to unleash them and then come together and build them, and your community can be safe. You know what happened to those communities that said, no, we don't need you? Within months, because these other communities got real into it and became engaged, that displacement moved right to those communities. And I started getting calls way back when, hey, Major Russell, what was that you was telling us about? We need you. They deal in drugs in our community. Never deal with drugs in our community. Don't let it happen in your community. And if it's happening now, I'm telling you, you can get rid of it, but it's going to take an engaged presence. And everybody, I saw somebody put in the chat room, it's going to take all the residents. And I'm going to say this, it's going to take a good core group of the residents. It may not be everybody, but if you can get a good core group, that remnant that says by heck or high water, we're going to get a safe neighborhood, I promise you. And I'll drive 100 miles and I'll help you do it myself. I promise you, you can get a safe neighborhood. I miss doing this work. And it's breaking my heart to hear what Pastor said. It's breaking my heart to read this stuff that's in the chat room, that why you can't do this. I love y'all to life, but you can do it. There's nothing impossible that you can't do. Come on, conquerors. You can do this.
And you know,
I love you.
Right. And you know, Melvin, that displacement is real. And I'll give you all just a real simple analogy here. You ever rode down a street and you looking on the side of the street, there's like one piece of trash there, right? I do this test almost once a week, and I drive in different neighborhoods just to see what's going on. And go back the next day, that trash is still there, but then there's another piece of trash there now, right? By the end of the week, you have a severe illegal dumping situation, because you know what we did as a resident in the neighborhood? We did not pick up that one piece of trash that started that displacement and that growth. It's as simple as that. If you had picked that trash up, I guarantee you that other trash wouldn't have landed on that piece of trash, because it wouldn't have had anything to land on.
Absolutely. And I think that we have all really hit the nail on the head here, that it really falls back on us. When we talk about buying a home, we look at home, the key word, we say it's an investment. But oftentimes we just look and we're tunnel vision. The home is the investment. How much equity does it have? Is the value going up? How much can I get for it when I sell it? But the investment is just not the home. The investment is also the community. Your investment is also saying, I'm going to be involved. Your investment is saying, when I see trash, I'm going to pick it up. Your investment is saying, when I see people up here, I'm going to make the call. Your investment is saying, hey, I'm going to come and talk to my neighbors. That's the investment piece. And so once we become invested truly in our communities, as everyone has said, we can really see stuff begin to shake and begin to move. I also say, I see back to Ms. Winder with this, and this is very spirited, and I love it. And I love what Chief Russell said about the creativity, finding ways. I remember I saw, I had a buddy who lived downtown, and their community association has like a weekly trash walk. And at the end of that walk, they drink wine together, or they may have like a snack together. And now, of course, you know, COVID, folks may not feel comfortable or whatever the case may be, but figure out ways, what moves people, what motivates people to come together, and let's use that to be able to take and to catapult our communities to the next level. I also see in the chat that communities have to come together to hold our city services accountable. Absolutely. And that goes back to that 311, that goes back to the SR, that goes back to writing letters, that goes back to blowing up the phone lines. As Ms. Winkler knows, I blow up the phone line. I'm a caller. And, and she's come to me.
It's so true. It's so
probably
true.
annoyed. You said I probably have annoyed her, but the reality is,
no.
people, is that we have to get on the horn, and you got to blow the phone lines up like you trying to get tickets to your favorite artist concert, right? We gotta blow it up, and we have to make sure that they understand that we love where we live, and we have to also make sure that they understand that they're also accountable to the citizens. And I saw that in the chat as well. And Ms. Winder, I want, go ahead.
Oh, and Steve, I just want to address something I see in the chat about the suburbs, and that Baltimore places so much on everyone except people who are paid to clean out streets and police out neighborhoods. If you would allow me, I'd like to address that. Stop comparing Baltimore to suburbs, please. Please, because if you never lived in a suburb or worked in a suburb, you don't understand the difference in how we handle services. And remember, Baltimore City does not privatize the services that we offer our residents. We hire our own. We hire folk to do that. Other suburban areas, counties, they privatize, right? They privatize. So they don't hire, they don't create the workforce that Baltimore City creates for its residents. So stop comparing us to the suburbs. They provide their services a lot differently. And they do not invest in their workforce.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I do want to ask Ms. Winder, in that same vein, how do we work with our electeds on this thing about getting the crime under control, getting the trash and the illegal dumping under control? And then, do electeds have an obligation to respond? Do they have an obligation to be into our community? That's a question.
Absolutely. And I gotta be nice about this one. I was just gonna say, election time, they tell us all what they're gonna do. So I don't see it being not a problem to ask them when they're in the office. But no, I believe they have an obligation to either have a liaison at these meetings or to connect with us to get certain things done when it comes within their district. One of the things I said in the chat as well, and I just want to say this this is very helpful. With NECO as being an umbrella and organization, what we do is we invite our city agencies there. We even have our elected officials there. So there are not only the community associations, but all the stakeholders within that umbrella. And what happens is that they give reports, people can ask questions, we even follow up. So if someone light was out, we make sure that we're following to make sure that it's happening and giving leverage to support those communities. But what happens also is that we have these meetings, and even though some communities may look like it may not get, the attention, and some do, we're sitting at this meeting to say, hey, what happened over in your community? What did you do? Because then we talking to one another, and we're going to say, not that necessarily has to be exactly the same, but the communication, the creativity, the getting some ideas. You're going to get those ideas when you're sitting at a table, light bulb comes on. My sister Valerie is on here about nonprofits and how to get nonprofits started. And I say that to say, everyone has their own kind of, I don't say lane, but everyone has something that they can bring to the table. And so I think that is very important to be, as Danielle said, all hands on deck and making sure that everyone's at the table. And even if they can't be there, maybe someone's in session, maybe they have a hearing going on, we have our councilman on, even if the person can't be there, everyone can have some kind of representative there from their office. I just believe they have to be there. This is their district. This is a reflection of you. For me, I have a young child, and I say, her learning and the way she looks, she's a reflection of me. And I feel like your elected officials, this is a reflection of your district, or a reflection of you. And I would love to see them, if they're not. I know with mine, I'm in the 43rd, and we're doing great because we communicate with one another. Not to say it's not anywhere else, but they hold town halls, they have meetings, and they're talking with one another. And that is how you're going to get everyone there.
And also, let me just say this in reference to that question. Many times residents use their elected officials for the wrong reason. Now, I'm gonna bring this all in for you all so you understand what I'm talking about. For a simple service request that your trash was missed, call 311, get a service request. That's an easy chit for a politician to take care of. Let's talk about our communities. The young lady that said there's 5 houses in that block. Have you spoken to your councilman and asked him, has he noticed that it's only 5 houses that live in this block where there was probably a block of 20? What are the development plans? What type of zoning do I have in this block? How can I turn a corner on this block? How can I grow this block? How can this block expand? There's a food desert. Can we have a grocery store in this block? Not a mom and pop store with the door hanging halfway off the hinges. How about the strip here? The strip, I say Liberty Road. Why can't Liberty Road be an avenue, a boulevard? We're calling our politicians to collect our trash. We're calling politicians because our recycling isn't getting picked up. We're calling politicians because DPW put out a message saying that we were going to pick up your recycling, but we had a young man that got hurt on the very crew that's responsible for collecting in your area. So now we can't get to your recycling. So you walk your recycling down to the end, but now you got to bring it back. Why is that a problem? In my community, we do not call our elected officials for that reason. When they're coming up here, we're getting something major done. We're getting a zoning change. We're stopping a development project that we might not want. We're getting land designated as forest conservation, right? So let me just remind you, I work for you. I'm in DPW and I work for you. If there is a service that you need, call me. I guarantee you'll be surprised at the outcome because I'm going to escalate it, I'm going to follow it, and I'm going to get you that service you requested. When you call your elected official, you're calling for that big money ticket. You want the big money tickets. You don't want those little chits. I don't want to remember my elected official when I go to vote because he had my trash picked up. As far as I'm concerned, I can take my trash to the dump. If I'm that serious about it and it's a problem, right? And I want this vacant house moved out of my neighborhood, right? So I'm just trying to get you all to a bigger picture because I've been working in politics all my life just about. I just finally came into this role 3 years ago. I was a lobbyist in Annapolis and I was showing nonprofits how to get a bill. I was showing communities how to get a project through the bond process. I was showing students how to get a scholarship. How many of you all know that your elected officials in Annapolis get, I think 30 million, maybe it got cut in half to $15 million just to give out scholarships to your young people who are going to college, right? So I need you all, and I teach this all the time when the county council people call me all the time to have this real talk discussion with their folk about the big picture, not those little things, but the big picture. So I want you all to start to think about when you need service, you need to call your city agencies.
So I want to add, because there's comments there, but even with city agencies or state legislators, even about the scholarships, they are communicating. I mean, I'm getting it for various legislative districts where they're giving out the scholarship, as well as the city agencies. It was asked about sharing this information. The BaltimoreCity.gov website is full of resources, full of details. I mean, sometimes I think it's a whole lot, but even with it being said, they have flyers, they have things that they're putting out, but we have to take that if we don't know where it is, but if we do, we need to take that and we need to disseminate that into our communities, our networks. Sometimes we're not doing that, and that's the simplest thing, but the information is so much on the baltimorecity.gov website. There's so much when you're connected already with your delegates and your senators, because they'll send that out. I get e-blasts and emails all the time where I'm missing it because it's just overwhelming. But if we had some kind of localized with city, which we do, we can even follow it when they're going into session. Everything is there. Everything is online. So.
Brother Steve, I just want to say, remind everybody, those are my two sisters right there. That's Sister Angie Winder, that's my sister right there. And Sister Chief Yolanda Winkler, almost my neighbor, they're my sisters right there, and they are spot on. That's all I got to say. I love them right there. They talk
almost my neighbor. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I am so enjoying this. This is vital information that we have to get out to people. I want to ask you, can you please hang in with us a little while longer? We know we said to 8 o'clock, but this is good information. And we can hang in just till about 8:30. Those that can, if you can't, I understand. But this is really good. And we have so much other information that we need to get to. Can everybody hang with us?
Sure.
Thank you all. Thank you.
So absolutely. And thank you everybody for that information. And to get us out here in that time. I hate to stop, but I also want to get some of our other partners in here that are panelists as well. But I will say what Ms. Winder said is that if you are constantly seeing issues, if you're constantly seeing things aren't happening, when it comes time to go to the voting polls, that's your chance. That's your chance to change your situation. If you want to change your situation, you put your left foot in front of the right, you take your hips down to that voting poll, and you pull that lever, press that button or bubble in that circle, whichever way, you vote and you change that situation, because the reality is we constantly vote the same people back in, and we constantly complain about the same issues and thinking something's going to change. So the people that we have within our communities, you can start to look at them because you have that burning desire. You have that fire brewing right in your community. Start looking at who's budding, who's out there, because the reality is it comes from within, and the people that live in those places and spaces have the most skin and stake in the game. So you want to change your situation or outcome? Vote. All right. With that said, I want us to slightly to pivot and want to start talking about creating nonprofit organizations in which your community organizations fall under when you get your 501c3 and things of that nature. And thank you again, Officer Lee. I do have something that I want to kind of engage you on in a minute. And Officer Lee, actually, I'm going to start with you and then I'm going to shift right to Miss Valerie Matthews. I want to ask you, what has been one of your shining moments, one of your glaring moments where you're like, I love this stuff. This is why I get up and do what I do every day. What's been one of your best moments working with the community?
Well, one of my many shining moments are speaking to my, what I call pharmaceutical specialists, my drug dealers. That's one of my best times where we're able to communicate, to dialogue, and knowing that I'm real and they are real and they listen to me. They respect me because I come not pulling any punches, but I'm real with them. And not only am I real, I offer them opportunities, to stop what they're doing and getting a real job. And I explain to them, there are only a couple of places that you're going to go if you continue with this behavior. Knowing that some listen and some don't. But I get joy when I come up on Pennsylvania Avenue and Lawrence Street. They stop out of respect for what they're doing. Before I even get there, they see me. How you doing, Lee? What's going on today? What can I do for you? It's the communication. I think we have gotten away from communicating, because these are people too that need help. These are people that want somebody to listen to instead of putting cuffs on their hands. And you can't arrest your way out of a problem. You have to see where and meet people where they are. And that's what I love about my job. I get to meet them right where they are. And the level of respect goes both ways. They are humans, they are men, they are women, they're somebody's kids, somebody's daughters, somebody's sons, and I treat them as if they are. That's what they are. You know, not because I wear a patch on my shoulder or I have a badge, they're human beings. And that's what I love about my job. I can go anywhere in West Baltimore, not because I'm the police, because I'm a human being. They respect that because I talk to them how they need to be talked to and treated how they need to be treated. That's what I love about my job.
Hey, listen, sir, round of applause to you, like for real. Seriously, seriously.
Yeah.
I appreciate that because I can hear the sincerity and I can hear the tone of your heart in it. And I got people, you definitely got an amen corner, brother. I don't know if you can see it in the chat, but you have an amen corner. People like, yeah, he done cleaned off Lawrence and Pennsylvania Avenue for a gospel event. Had the young people out there, you know, Officer Charles, he the truth, he the man with the master plan. Like, Officer Charles, thank you so much. For being engaged, for stepping out of your car, for having those conversations, because the real talk is, if you want to stop some of the foolishness that we see, you got to talk to these people, these young men, these young ladies that's out there. They want somebody to ask them how their day is going. They want somebody to ask them, hey, did you have a warm place to sleep last night? Did you have clean clothes? Do you have food in your belly? How's your mother? How's your father? How's your auntie's chemotherapy going? How's your kids? They got diapers? They got Similac? You got bottles? Go holler at Valerie. So those are the things that we need to be doing. And I'm so glad that officers like you are doing that, because that's how you police. And that right there is the quintessential definition of community policing, sir.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. With that said, an idea, and I love this because this has become a think tank session. Idea was said, and Mr. Nell said, "Hey, how about you hire young? Is there a way that we can hire young people to be able to be this bridge between, you know, our older folk and folks that may not be able to use the internet and do different things like that, to teach them or to help them to gather SR requests or, you know, 311 calls and things like that? Can we get them in the community to actually have these conversations?" So I think that is a good question, especially when we talk about squeegee young men, especially when we talk about young people that go to school, but I may be taking care of my family. You know, I may be the man in the house or the woman in the house at 12 or 13 years old, and I'm looking for ways, you know, to earn money to make sure that my family or my little brother or my little sister eats. And I think that this is the creativity that Chief Russell was talking about, that we need to find new ways to make sure that our city has the things that it needs. So maybe we can have that conversation in the future, Ms. Winkler, to see how we can do that. And then also teach young people communication skills, how to look people in the eye, how to have conversations, how to present themselves, how to find information themselves. So this right here, I think, could be something that comes out of this meeting that we can take, and can be an actionable step. Actionable.
You know what? It's a great idea, Stephen, because one of the things I do for the agency is I head up the youth services, I oversee the youth services opportunities for DPW. And so we have a YH2O program, career mentoring program. And to date, we have hired 116 youth in this program over 5 years. It's been fantastic. The young people are actually working in departments in various capacities. IT. We have 2 young men that are working in IT. We have working in solid waste. We have them in water sampling. We have them working in I have two YH2O pass participants working for me. And so that's something we definitely can do, and we can definitely talk about. I'll just put it out there that this Friday will be, maybe tomorrow, I think, we're going to have a release going out about the new, about recruitment for the YH2O program. We're taking in 30 youth, 6 months training, and then you go into an intern position with the Department of Public Works, and eventually a full-time position with Department of Public Works. And so stay tuned. The liaisons will be circulating that information to all the community leaders and throughout the community. All right, so that's a great opportunity for everyone. In addition, when you just gave me an idea, Stephen, when summer youth work start this next coming season, I used them before as my communicators, and they created TikToks and all kinds of messages that we as old folks, I'm 56, and I have no idea how to create this TikTok and all the things that I see, but I wish I had time to share with you all some of the things that they created. The one young lady, I will never forget, she created a meme that had a conversation going on about a water bill, and it was so real. And if you go back and look on our social media, you might even see that post. But I think we posted time and time again, and that was created by a 10th grader. And the message was so clear. I think we ended up having about 114,000 impressions on that one post. So yes, so I'm gonna revisit that, and we're gonna do the 211, 311, 911. Stephen, you just gave me an idea. I'm going to take that a little further this summer when I get the young people.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And this is what this is for, folks. Oftentimes we can choose how we use this. We can use this as a griping session, or we can use this as a think tanking session and come up with some actionable stuff. Say, you know what, this was 2 hours well spent, because now we didn't came up with some new programs. We didn't think tank some stuff, and we didn't told the city. Our job as citizens is to tell the city how to move, because remember, they work for us, right? So instead of sitting back, let's come up with some ideas, write them down,
right?
Take them to the office and say, hey, this is how we should move, and start to implement them, and then volunteer your time to help implement them things. And you never know.
Remember, if you need services, call 311. If it's DPW services in particular, call me. I had 3.5 liaisons. I'm probably going to get some more liaisons because I'm in the process of recruiting them. And so call the city agency responsible for the service. We have an obligation to help you. I'm very serious about that. I don't think there's a call I've ever gotten from any constituent from anywhere that I didn't go beyond a call of duty. To me, I just escalated 2 water bill issues tonight while I was on this Teams with you guys. Right?
Absolutely.
So let's be thoughtful in terms of how we use our politicians, and let's make our city agencies work for us. You all pay us, you might as well.
That's nothing but facts. That's nothing but facts. Miss Mack,
say that Miss Winkler gets the job done. Sometimes I think she just says, "Oh no, not Miss Spence again."
Trust me, I don't mind. I don't mind. At the end of the day, my joy is seeing a task to completion and knowing that you got the results that you wanted. And you, Miss Spence, I know you in particular, you had a major situation. And it took a minute, but we kept at it, right?
Yes, you kept at it.
Yeah.
But I want to say also, I called her, I guess about a month or so ago. She was on vacation. She wasn't even in town because there was a danger about where there was a dumpster at.
Yeah.
And I was like, this dumpster has got to be moved. It has got to be, because somebody's going to, have an accident here. And I called and she was like, Miss Spence, she said, look, I'm not even in town. She said, but I'll try to look into it for you. I said, if you could, please. Within 10 minutes, she called me back, had somebody else on the phone with her, and then the truck rolled up while we were talking to get it moved so that nobody would get hurt. So
no,
I
listen, I love my residents. I love Baltimore City. And, if it's left up to me, Baltimore City is going to live up to its name of being great.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And I can definitely second that. That Ms. Winkler definitely comes through when you call. Want to shift when we still talking about communities, talking about nonprofits. I know there's some folks out there, and I saw that talking about the city having $1 billion in ARPA funding, the American Rescues Act. When we're talking about, either PCDA based on where you live at, when you talk about billions of surplus from the state, Ms. Matthews, how can we start a nonprofit that we can qualify for some of these funds, and then actually take that nonprofit to help hit some of these wolves in the head that we're talking about?
Okay, so I know everybody is probably ready to get off of this call and ready to go start doing community work or start their own business or their nonprofit or whatever. But before you even go do that, Don't go reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
Do your research first. There are over 18,000 nonprofits in the greater Baltimore area alone. I don't think that we need another. Same with the community associations. Like Captain said, like, there are a lot of community associations, but we have to find the ones that are active, that are giving you the high quality, that are doing the work and everything else. So don't jump too soon. Do your research first. See what's already happening in your neighborhood. You may have a great idea. You may have a great concept. There may be a nonprofit that's doing very, very well and can help you bridge that gap. You don't have to start a nonprofit for that one idea. You can go and partner with somebody or merge with a group or team up with somebody to get that mission accomplished. And you might wind up making out way better by partnering with somebody. And you may actually be able to get your hands on some of those funds to implement your program, because you are just regular old Mr. Charles Lee, and you're not a director of this and director of that, and you don't know the ins and outs of all of these things, but you got this bright idea, and this person, that this organization that can help you implement it. So that's my first suggestion. Do your research first. That's what we did. We did our research. We didn't just come into Park Heights and say, hey, sign us up to be a nonprofit. That's not how it works. You got to go knock on some folks' doors, do some focus meetings, talk to people, participate in your neighborhood association meetings, go to your school board meetings. Don't just pop up and say, I'm such and such, and we are Inc. and give us some of these ARPA money fund. You can't just sign up and say, give me my money. It doesn't work like that. Gotta get your feet wet, because that's the perception that a lot of people have. They're like, oh, all I need to do is just become a nonprofit and I can get these funds. No, baby, it's not that easy. Some nonprofits have been around for over 10 years and probably have never received a grant in their life. Thankfully for us, and this is another tip I was going to give, but funding is not for everybody. All funds are not for everybody. Those funds that were, somebody mentioned the ARPA funds, that's not for everybody. These grants that you see, all of these funds that's coming in from the governor, that's coming from the state, most of those funds don't even apply to nonprofits. They don't apply to us. So this, being in spaces like this, we connect dots so that we can work with each other and partner with each other, because we don't have the money to do it. We don't have the staff to do it. We may not have the capacity to do it, but we do what we can because we love this work, and we're going to try to figure out a way. I'm gonna beg Miss Spence for 500. I'm gonna beg Angie for 200, and I'm gonna beg Steve for another 3 so we can have 1,000. And that's the way of the nonprofit world. We all piece it together and we work together. So do your research, partner up with a nonprofit that may already exist, and know your audience. Don't just say, I want to work with young girls. There are a lot of girls that need help in Baltimore City. Do you want to work with foster girls? Do you want to work with teen moms? Do you want to work with those affected by drug abuse? Pick a lane, like someone mentioned, pick your lane and stay in your lane. Don't go outside of your lane, because the funders don't want to give you money once you go outside your lane anyway. So pick your lane and stay in your lane, and know who is interested in funding programs or ideas that are like yours. So if you know that you want to, for us, we work with children. Family League of Baltimore is the key funder in Baltimore City for organizations that work with children. So know who your funders are, know who your audience is. If you have a clear understanding on what the mission is that you're trying to do and what the funder funds, there's no reason you shouldn't receive funding. You may not get it today, you may not get it in year 1, year 2, or year 3, but by year 5, you've been putting in your work and you are getting to know your community, you're networking, you're building your portfolio, you're building your brand. They're going to see you. They're going to see you, and they're going to come to you, and they're going to want to partner with you. They'll want to give you money for your programs, and they'll want you to grow. One last thing I'll say about nonprofits. Well, two, you need a board. You cannot just say, this is my nonprofit, or I started this nonprofit and it's mine. People say that all the time. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to me either. It's not mine. It belongs to the community. It's a community service. It is a community support. It ain't about you. It ain't about you at all. You just a person that carries the vision through and carries the mission through. It's for the people. So once you understand that it's not about you, your work will speak for itself. And fundraising. Grants, not for everybody. I mentioned that. You have to fundraise. You have to raise your own money. Same like neighborhood associations. We work with Ms. Spence in Park Lane. So you can partner with a nonprofit so that you can receive funds and you have access to do other things. You may need a 501c3 status for you to rent out your local rec center or to rent out a local church so that you can have an event. Those types of things will work in your favor. So make sure that you guys are always fundraising, have other sources of funds to come into your organization so that you can sustain yourself and have funds to pay for the amazing things that you want to do. And have a great team. Have a great team. Your board and your team is going to be very, very helpful to the success of your nonprofit organization. Now, don't go start one until you do your research, and then do your research and then come talk to me before you go and start your nonprofit.
And while they are hearing,
wait. Pastor Spence, can you pass the plate? Pass the plate. You were teaching.
And donated to Catherine's Family and Youth Services. Listen, can you put your info in the chat, please, Ms. Matthews, so that way folks can know how to get a hold of you for additional questions about the nonprofit world and things like that. That would be absolutely and amazingly great. But there's money out here. There's ways to get it. There's ways to fund your association. There's ways to fund your nonprofit. Ms. Matthews has the keys to the nonprofit kingdom. All right, so make sure you connect with her, and then yeah. So with that said, in talking about community, as we bring this to a close and as we begin to land this plane, I think the biggest takeaway, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest takeaway is relationships, is community. I don't think not a nan person has said anything, has typed anything into the chat that has not come back to relationships, of talking, of having conversations, of think tanking and planning. Had a conversation the other day, and I said, if everybody in the community would just hold hands, we would create a circle. With that circle, what do animals do when a predator tries to come? They encompass whoever that predator is trying to attack. That way, that predator has to stay at bay. Now, everything that's now encompassed is protected. If we reach out and we hold hands as a community, we will be protected. We will have everything that we need, and can nobody come in and tear us apart. But it's up to us to hold each other's hands. It's up to us to stop the foolishness. It's up to us to, oh, you live on this street, I live on this block, I don't like you. Oh, Miss Mabel told me this 25 years. I don't care what Miss Mabel told you 25 years ago. We got stuff to do, people. We got places to go. We got lives to save. We got children to educate. We got hearts to mend, and the only way we do that is hand in hand. All right. We do have Miss Wise, and Miss Wise, I'm gonna let you take us home, because in our communities, especially communities of color, yes, we do chat. We need to stand in the gap and protect that community. Miss Wise, as communities of color, we see too many GoFundMes to bury our loved ones. We see too many unnecessary needs for cremations when that person could have had, an actual funeral or burial. Had we planned properly to funeralize that person, we got to move past that GoFundMe. Oh, somebody died, unexpected, no money. Now it's a burden on the family. Now you got to beg, scrape, rob, and steal to get funds. Ms. Wise, can you tell us how we can be more prepared and take take us home on this, how we can be prepared to funeralize our loved ones and to give them a homegoing service. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I thank you guys for the opportunity, and this has been a wealth of information for me as well. It's certainly hitting on point just on everything that we talked about, communication and partnership. We got to communicate. We can't be afraid to talk about these things. And that's what the problem is. We'll get together and families will get together and like you said, you have to get a GoFundMe page, but yet you have people, they want to release doves and have stretch limousines and make t-shirts and do all these other kinds of things. When we can take those funds and make sure people can set up ways of taking care of this stuff ahead of time. And there are ways of doing it. But it's us coming together as leaders, it's us coming together as pastors, as community people coming together and saying, okay, let's see how we can talk about it and not be afraid to talk about it. And to say, what would be the smart way or the intelligent way to take care of something that we know is going to happen, that everybody's going to face. We see grandma taking care of her stuff, but yet it's the grandchild that gets killed. And now we have to use what she prearranged to do, and she did it the right way. Now she's stuck in a situation, in a position where I have to bury my grandson. So now it changes the whole dynamic simply because we didn't talk about it. But we'll say, well, let's have a GoFundMe page. Or we'll say, well, how are we going to fund this? Because the only time they come to the cemetery is when something has happened, and now they get a bill for $6,000, $7,000, $10,000, when that stuff could have been talked about. And a person on a fixed income could simply make payments and have this stuff taken care of. And so they're not finding themselves in that situation. But we got to talk about it. We can't be afraid to talk about it. We can't be afraid to come up with some creative ideas, ways to start maybe having a liaison, a person that's not a person that's, and it goes on both ends, both the business side and the community side. It affects the community. So we can't be thinking about a person trying to give information because they want to be compensated for it. We have to get the information out there so people can make intelligent decisions about this kind of thing. And we have to get information out there where people or go to their pastors or go to their religious leaders, and the religious leaders are sending them to places with the best place that they know or a person that they know, and they not necessarily have the right kind of information. They're only giving what they know. And so it's a vicious cycle. My goal is to get as much information out to people as possible. This is what happens. This is what you're going to face. This is, there's ways that you can take care of this that won't break your bank, that won't put you in a poorhouse, or that you don't have to use all of your insurance money because you still have to live after a person is gone, or you don't have any money at all. There's so many ways that we can look at this if we're not afraid to talk to one another and open up our doors and then give the information to the proper people that are in positions to educate their congregation or to educate their small group or to educate a community leader so that when something happens, years ago, our communities are very different. Years ago, when something happened, somebody died, everybody on the block knew them, so they would be a support system to that family. Now, something happens in the community, if you don't have an association or a tight-knit community, your next door neighbor might not even know, or they might want to give resources to help you out and don't know where to direct those resources to, where we can take a proactive way of doing it. There are resources, there are cemeteries that have special needs packages and things like that for families who don't have insurance or don't have money, but it's not advertised. So people don't know, or people are too proud to ask. They want to front like, I'm okay. I got everything under control, when really they go to the cemetery and they get handed that bill and they say, oh my God, I can't handle it. So they, but yet they're too proud to ask for help or say, where can I get these resources from? What can I do to prevent this from happening again? And I just want to, put my name out there to be a resource to any questions that people have. I don't care, even though I might work for one particular cemetery, I don't care where you go. The same questions, the same problems, the same issues come up. So let's address the issues, and then people can see what way works best for them, and then they can go to the various places and have these things set up ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to ask you real quick, Ms. Wise, is life insurance expensive? Can I get some,
Well,
life
life insurance, yeah, life insurance is not my expertise. I'm not an agent. But what I do know is that when you do get a policy, things like checking who the beneficiary is, and then checking how much you have, because people would get life insurance policies 20 years ago, and then they think that that's enough to cover their burial expenses. Yes, if they died 20 years ago. But now it's 20 years later. That same $10,000 policy means absolutely nothing.
That's true.
Or the beneficiary is, they say, oh, I make my oldest son the beneficiary. And at that time, that person might be okay. But then when a death occurs, that beneficiary is not obligated to handle your burial services. So now that son who they put in charge, and all the proceeds go to them, they decide that I'm going to cremate mama because I've got something better to do with that money. I'm going to make different decisions. The more decisions people make themselves, then they can control, or they'll be in charge of what things happen, or how it's going to affect their children or their grandchildren or generations ahead. If we sit and talk about it, we have to talk about it. We have to be clear on what happens. We have to be clear on what's required and what resources are available. And the communication with one another is a way to conquer that. But not only getting the information, but getting the correct information, getting the right information, connecting with people who actually care about our community and care about what people are facing and what people are doing. And the way to do that is to have a platform such as this, where we can all come together, we could brainstorm, and we could find ways, because one person might have an idea that connects with this person's idea. I look at how different religious groups do different things. We have a Muslim group that come out and they buy multiple properties so that nobody comes to the church or to the house of worship. And if they don't have any money, they don't turn a brother down. So they have that resource. And then at another time, they collect funds that'll go into that resource. So maybe we could look at other ways of financing and resourcing these things for some of our people in our communities who don't have the money, and who are the ones that are being faced with these kinds of, well, we all are faced with this thing, but some have monies that can take care of it, and others don't have those resources. What do we do?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And I think that was an excellent way to put a ribbon on this, to put a bow on it. We did have Ms. Blanca post her email. If you wanted to, consult with her about some life insurance. I know she said this is not a solicitation at all,
Right.
but I think that everything that we need is in the house. And
Exactly.
when we talk, is in the house is right here. So Ms. Blanca, if you have resources to life insurance, not saying people have to go with you, but at least they can come to you to get information. So thank you for making yourself available. And also with that, I will say, talking about being in the house, if we as people of color, who has one of the highest purchasing power parities, if our dollar is that strong, it's no way we don't have a stranglehold on the economic game. It's no reason why we got to go somewhere else instead of staying in the house. We can control our narrative if we support one another. We got to pour into each other. Shop at somebody's small business, buy somebody's shea butter product, buy somebody's knit, go to YBI African Apparel and get a nice, African, centered head wrap or headscarf Go into somebody's, Shopify or whatever it is and support them. Nike, Jordan, he got enough money. Even though I love J's, Jordan got enough money. But you got a young kid at Excellence and Ambition who might be trying to design shoes and he's only charging 50, but because they ain't got a jump man on it, you decline it. But that young brother or sister need more money than MJ does. So let's pour back into us. When we pour back into us, we will see our community flourish. We will see our city flourish. But it's up to us. What we gonna do? So hopefully, just like they say when you work in church, that you do not leave this place the same way that you walk in. And if your heart and mind are influenced.
And let the church say amen.
Amen.
Oh my goodness.
Amen.
Everybody, just give yourselves a hand. This was wonderful. This was great. Absolutely great. I gotta say, we gotta do this again. Time, there's just so much other information that's needed, and time just kept slipping and slipping and slipping away. But I want you to know that I appreciate each and every one of you. You came here willingly. You came here without cost. You didn't interview us beforehand to see what it was all going to be all about. So we just truly, truly appreciate you. You will be hearing from us. I was trying to look at what was going on in the chat, and I'm afraid these eyes, even with glasses, I really couldn't see. So I'm like straining, trying to read, what was over there, and straining, trying to type my 1 or 2 little messages. But thankfully, we will be able to get everything printed out. We will save this. It's going to be on Facebook for a while. You'll be able to go back. You'll be able to tell others about it. This is important information, extremely important information in order for our community to grow, to change, to advance, to move ahead, whatever terminology you want to use. And we are solution-based. We don't, our idea is not to get up here and bat and tear down. That's not what we are about. We're about bringing people together with ideas, solutions, experience to the table. And as Valerie mentioned, we don't want to keep reinventing the wheel. We got 10,000 wheels and none of them going nowhere. All right, I'm getting ready to get into my thing. So
Stop preaching.
I'm not going there tonight, but I am so grateful. I am so grateful. I am so grateful. And hopefully we will continue to receive questions and all. I would ask that if everybody, if you don't mind, if everybody can put their emails, contact information in the chat so that people can have it available so that they can reach out to you. I do want to say one of the last things before we close. We do have a training that is coming up, and I'm sorry, the instructors that we have, they were not able to join us on tonight because of scheduling issues, but we're going to be doing community-based development training. It is going to be 5 Saturdays of training. We have an instructor from Philadelphia and we have one from Delaware. We spoke about them earlier that have a combined 50 years of experience. They're going to be teaching us stuff like land trusts and how to bring communities together, all sorts of things. And we are looking to do it in April, but we have not confirmed that yet. But we want to really empower our neighborhood association, our community leaders, our church leaders, really in how we can move our city forward, how we can build wealth for our community, how we can employ resources for our whole community, not just for a handful, but for our whole community. So we ask you to please, stay in touch with us to have that information. Danelle, you have anything to add before we dismiss?
You guys know my heart is full. Like I said, when my sister When Valerie got to going, I promise you, I almost ran around this living room. Like I was about to get up and run around. I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful. And as you guys know, I work for the City Council President's office now. And when I go to different association meetings, they're full of information. But when I'm out and about, whether it's a community cleanup or just out and about, people don't really know how the city works, you know? And so having forums like this to say, hey, this is how you get the resources you need, and this is how you move forward, and this is how you clean and get the vacants taken care of. All of those things happen because of people like who are on our panel today. So I thank you so much, Dad. I thank you so much for coming on board and being a part. I mean, oh my goodness, I miss you. Thank you to my sister Angie. You know, I hit up in the email like, hey sis. Even as a new brother, he's new to me, but you know what? I've known him forever. You know how you meet somebody and you're like, oh, that's a kindred right there. Like that's, you know, he's supposed to be my brother. I just didn't know it yet. So it's been awesome. Thank you so much, Officer Lee. Thank you so much, Ms. Winkler. Thank you so much, Ms. Wise. I appreciate all of you. And that's all I got to say. Oh, Excellence and Ambition, nonprofit. We help youth start businesses. We also do workforce development, soft skills, professionalism training. Those soft skills that you were talking about earlier, Ms. Winkler. And so I always got to put them in there. Like what we doing with our youth? Because we're here to help.
Right. Yep.
Amen. So thank you guys.
And let's thank our host and hostess, our MC and our host. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, indeed. I am just delighted. I'm about like Danelle said, you know, I'm trying. Y'all should see my legs and stuff shaking because I really want to just, but I know I can't up here, so I'm trying to keep calm. But afterwards, they say I can put them down, pick them up, put them down.
Right.
Know? So
Nice.
I'm grateful. Blessings to each and every one of you. Please continue. We're going to send out a call for us to come back. And Stephen, we appreciate you agreeing to be our moderator for us on tonight. We're thankful. I did see Catherine. She must have tried to come back in, but she's over in the other, when I say the other area, she's over with the participants. I did see her name there. So certainly on behalf of all of Baltimore Action Catalyst team, I say thank you. And I say have a great, great night. Many, many blessings to you.
Thank you. Good night.
Love you all to life. This has been incredible. Love you all to life. Y'all make me want to put back on my uniform.
Please do. Please do. Come on and help Mr. Lee out. Come on back and help Mr. Lee out. Mr. Lee got one corner, you can get the other.
I love you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Great
everyone.
night.
I just want to say,
Thank you all. Thank you.
can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I know Chap is not on here, but that gentleman is just a light. Miss Chari Spence.
He's on.
That gentleman, he just, we started the conversation with him saying, I like your hair. He started the conversation with, I like your hair. And they got to introduce me to Mr. Pastor Spence, left me a number, told me he loves his community, loves his city. And that's all he had to say. So to have young men like that going out into the community and just connecting himself with people is a blessing. Yes, I think each, every one, I learned so much. I got more notes from all of y'all. I just want y'all to know I learned so much from y'all. Thank you so much and God bless.
Thank you. And Chap is on. He's on. He's in the participant area, but he's been feeling that if I couldn't make anything else out, I can make out his name.
I was trying to pull him over to be a panelist. He refused. Next time, you gotta be a panelist. Stop playing.
Thank you. Looking forward for a follow-up.
God bless.
God bless. Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night. Good night.